Hello everyone, this is Col Sanjay Pande and with me is Shubhankar Chaudhary.
Hey everybody.
This is episode number 8 and I'm very sure you would have watched the first 7 episodes exactly in that seniority. There is a reason why I am insisting time and again that you see all of these in strict seniority. We still haven't started the leadership series about my practiced leadership, in which how I have practiced my leadership in last 40 years, whether it is military or whether it is corporate. I can share that with you, but we haven't started that as yet. Reason is, I am a firm believer that unless a person has the basics of his character sorted out, basics of his personality sorted out, he is unfit to become a leader. We have started understanding leadership in a very different way. Because there is a person sitting in a higher designation, we allot him the right to have leadership. That is not the way the leaders are born. The leaders are born when intrinsically, organically, you grow your character around the attributes which make a human being first, a personality later, and then you go and stand at the doorstep of leadership. And then your first step starts. So we are way away from learning leadership. We are at a stage where in the first 5 parts, we had just learned the basic foundation of a human being. In this one, we are discussing how a rounded personality can be made around those pillars. We have already discussed what credibility is, what are the components of credibility, what is character, and what is commitment. And that is where we left last. There are another two C's that we must discuss and thereafter carry out assessment of the four C's that we have spoken of earlier, and then see how these four C's and the basic character which we spoke of in the first 5 episodes, how do they combine together to form, to mold a personality? Who then we leave at the doorstep of the first lesson of leadership. Today, when you are working in an organization where all designations from the junior most to the senior most are all occupied, people are there, it is very important that all these videos are seen by the entire hierarchy, because the higher hierarchy has got more responsibility. They must know how they are being seen as by their own subordinates. On the quiet, there is such an easy way out to learn and reform. At the same time, people at the junior levels, they can actually start forming their own personality. Like I always say, these are the do it yourself kits for personality. You don't require anyone from outside, a Dronacharya, to come and teach you to form your character, or your parents. No, you can do it yourself. So do it. So today in this particular episode, we are going to be talking specifically about capability. I have my own ideas about capability, how I have practiced and how I have insisted that the capability in my subordinates, the capability level rises. But before I talk, I will hand over the mic to Shubhankar, who is going to talk in detail about his experience of what he understood by capability, say when he was a student, when he was in college, thereafter when he went for the first job, what exactly capability meant for him there, for his managers there, and what exactly capability means to him after he has joined my company from the last 3 years, and his experience with regard to capability of where he was and what he is today. Over to you, Shubhankar.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So I've been hearing about the four C's for a very, very long time, ever since probably my first internship with Colonel Pandey was when he first spoke about, that a person, regardless of whoever I hire, he has to have these four C's, and strictly in this order. It comes as character, capability, commitment, I'm sorry, then capability, and finally followed up by contribution. And if you think about it, all of these things, they tie together so beautifully to explain someone who is an asset to any company he or she works in, who is someone, or even to explain the value that a person brings in their personal lives, in their interpersonal relations, be it with your spouse, or be it with your friends, and or in your social circle. This can be applied everywhere. So, character being the bedrock, commitment being something that propels you forward from that, and then coming to capability. What I have over time deduced is that capability can be broadly divided into two major parts. One is your abilities. It can be something, abilities are really, really deep things that every human being has to work on. So it can be something like, there's this indescribable quality that some people have, and then someone just walks into the room and everyone pays attention to them and everyone calls them very charming. So that is an ability. People like to call it inborn. People like to say that not everyone has it, but the fact is that these abilities can over time be learned. One ability that I had to work on very hard to learn is simply communicating effectively. I wasn't a great communicator when I was in school. In fact, one of the previous videos that we have shot, I mentioned that I had a hard time talking to a group of even three or four people that I did not know when I was in school. And that's something I worked on for the better part of 2 to 3 years. And by the time that I was halfway through college, the transformation was unrecognizable, simply because I read a lot of books. I took feedback from my friends who I knew were very outgoing socially, and over time I developed that ability. So that is one thing that held me in good stead even when I joined Colonel Pandey, to work with him. When I talk to clients today, when I was working at when I was interning at some different company, or when I was working even in the consulting firm that I was working at. So everywhere, that one ability helped me. And like this, I over time developed multiple different core abilities. So, for example, when I joined Colonel Pandey at his company, I had to really rework my personality to fit the kind of work we are doing. It was so dynamic. We have spent around 8 to 9 episodes on our other category on this channel talking about thinking. Thinking is probably the hardest and biggest ability that I have had to tackle over the last 1.5 2 years. Uh, so ability is something, these abilities, as I like to call it, are something that each young person, or even if you are a mid career person, or someone who's very senior in wherever they are working, should focus on. These abilities are what will truly set you apart, be it within your company, or even if you're looking for a new job, or you're on the job market. The other thing that I would say is a part of capability are skills, and these are things that people generally talk about quite a lot. So you want to learn a new software, you want to learn how to code, you might want to learn Photoshop, or you might want to learn how to format Word documents. It can be anything, but the point is that these are very micro things compared to the overall canvas. Skill sets are some things that are more transactional, I would say. They can be updated and renewed much more easily than these core things, these abilities on which these skill sets lie. So these skill sets are something that are much more easy, much more transferable, and much easier to renew and keep on learning than it is to learn these core abilities. So I would say that if any person wants to focus on capability building, these are the two areas you should focus on, with maximum focus being on abilities, and of course you need to update your skills every now and then. You can't have one without the other. But overall, I would say that everyone needs to focus on both of these things together in sync. Over to you, sir.
I'll ask you a question, Shubhankar.
Yes, sir.
When you're talking about capability, let's talk about a MNC, let's talk about army, and let's talk about bureaucracy.
Okay.
Three extremely different organizations.
Yeah.
Right? When we are talking about youth and manpower, mind power, and my practiced leadership, it is not for an organization. We are talking it about people for people, regardless of where they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
If that be so, and if you understand that correctly, in that case, whose responsibility is it to improve the capability of a person?
I would say it's the person's own own responsibility to keep on improving themselves, because at the end of the day, even if you're part of a fantastic organization that really wants to invest in you as a person and as an asset, no one is going to be as interested in your growth as you. Yeah, that's my answer.
See, that's where exactly the problem lies in what you're saying. That no one is going to be interested in my growth. And you have talked about a brutal truth. A capable junior means that the senior may starts thinking that he'll get sacked or sidetracked.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere. It's in bureaucracy, it is in army, it is in corporate, it is in everywhere. It is everywhere. It would be in education field. You name a field. You name a field where it is not there. This is not a new phenomenon. This is being human. This is what humans are. So my point is, if it was like this, it is like this, and it will remain like this, then why should anyone be seeing our videos, our series, to implement or understand something out of it that benefits the organization? That's why, remember one thing, there are two things. When I talk about character, then I talk about commitment, then I talk about capability, and then I talk about contribution. This is the strict seniority in which a person has to be tested, judged, tried out. Soon as you start finding some problem in commitment, rather than pointing it out, go back to the book to see whether his all character traits that you read are correct. There is going to be some flaw. Only when you find that the character was fine, commitment is also excellent, that's the time you go to the third step of capability. So when we talk about capability, the capability and the soft skills are two different things. We are not talking about soft skills. We are talking about capability. A subordinate may have ambition to do a lot of things, but actually it is the senior who knows what is going to make the subordinate capable in the backdrop of the work that organization is doing. What is it that is mandatory for the growth of the organization? What is it that is mandatory for the growth of the individual? So, as a senior, as a leader, I must have that fair system where if I have got 10 subordinates, I must have a circle drawn for each with all of their skill sets segmented within that circle, and to find out where one is lacking. If we assume that all 10 subordinates have strong character and strong commitment, so it is time now for me to give them that additional capability that will take towards the organizational growth and towards the individual growth. You cannot have individual growth at the cost of organization or organizational growth at the cost of individual. An individual has a ambition, organization has a goal. So as far as you are concerned, it is your job to balance both and train all of them. This is precisely the place where the problems take place. Nepotism comes in. The nepotism does not have to be the dictionary meaning nepotism, that someone has to be some relative,
Yeah.
or no, nepotism can be of any kind nowadays.
But sir, what does let's take the perspective of a young person who's in the company or in any organization, and what you say is a very very ideal leader in a organization. But what if they aren't there in that particular organization? Then how do you deal with?
That's why when you talk about an organization, when you talk about any institution, any company for that matter, it is not bottom upwards that the growth takes place.
Hmm.
The placement selection of manpower takes place from top to bottom.
Hmm.
So when an organization has got extremely rotten processes or the rotten results, or overall the atmosphere is not very happy, so don't blame the subordinates, blame the hierarchy.
Hmm.
The problem is the hierarchy which is actually occupying its place and drawing their perks and salaries and power, mind you, most important power. Under no condition will they ever accept that the fault is theirs.
Yeah.
That's why you don't get the leaders. Everyone wants to bide his time. If I am a vice president of a company, I don't want capable juniors, because I know that my boss after some time may ask me to leave and make promote one of the juniors. So hence there is something wrong at the level of my boss. Who is under whom? Someone else. So this is the place where the organizational interest and the individual interest they clash. It's very very usual to find that there is a commanding officer, a vice president here, a joint secretary there, so fairly senior people, and they have large number of same level subordinates. How many of us actually go, we draw a matrix and do an absolute honest job, that despite disliking Shubhankar Chaudhary, I find in my matrix that the best person I have with me is Shubhankar Chaudhary. So am I ready? Am I ready to kill my ego and give him that additional capability that benefits him and the organization?
Hmm.
So, how big is my heart? How big is my thinking? So, if my thinking is no, I must see that he is jacked up. So, it speaks about my leadership, nothing else. So, that is why there are some organizations that do very well, some organizations that don't. So, when we talk about capability, like I said, it is twofold. As a senior, I know that for the growth of organization and for the growth of the individual, what are the capabilities I must give him? What are the additional skill sets I must give him? If he has those additional skill sets, why can't he enjoy? I remember before Shubhankar came and after my son had finished his uh, graduation, BTech, he worked for me for about 1.5 years. And often I would tell Shubhankar came in later. And he would ask me initially that, okay, my performance versus Nachiket's performance, who is better for the stage that we both are? And I would never hesitate in telling, because they are friends since class 8 or class 9. I always used to tell him one thing, that Nachiket, with all the responsibilities that were given to him, and I would not differentiate between my son or any other person. So they were handled very, very in a tough manner. 2 to 15 every day, I would find him, his chair would go back and he would be relaxing. I never asked him anything. So one day he asked me at home, why don't you ask me? I said, I have no crib. I said, whatever I have given you, I said, whenever I ask you, you are giving me the latest information. So why? I said, I don't have a problem. He said, don't you have a problem that at 2 o'clock I'm listening music and I'm just, I said, why should I have a problem? So he says that, Dad, my only job is whatever work you are given me, I always try to find shortcuts in that in such a way that at the cost of spending more time to try and find a shortcut, I finally come to such systems. I have made such systems for me that a work that would take 8 hours, I finish it in two and I relax for balance six. I used to be extremely happy. I said, this is that exact attitude I like. And I would tell Shubhankar, I said, no, this is the problem. I said, I would seem relaxing. And I did not have any reason to crib. So my point is that if you have such people who actually finish everything, they are much ahead in their work, in their goals, and they're sitting and relaxing. Why should we feel bad? But then what do we do? There's a normal joke in army that I used to listen right from the time I was a second lieutenant, 1982. And the normal joke was that an officer must always have two files in his hand. Sit in a room, relax, smoke, tea, snacks, whatever he wants to do, he can do, read a novel. But as soon as he is outdoors, as soon as he is leaving the office, he should wear his cap, take the files, walk very briskly from one door to another, to another, to another, and finally enter that door where he has decided to rest again. And he goes and rests again. So this I have heard this for the last 40 years. The problem is that because a subordinate shows you how busy he is, that he works till 8 o'clock in the night, 10 o'clock in the night, I think the guy should be sacked.
Yeah.
You have hired him for a job description you have given, and you know your job. If you know everything, why is the subordinate sitting beyond five
Yeah.
or the given time?
In fact, it's a thing in companies where the senior manager will just come and pull you up if he sees you leaving before 5
No,
or
it's
6.
everywhere. It's
It's
everywhere.
everywhere.
No, it's not corporate.
I think
In army also, when I was there were people, there were commanders who would actually sit in the night
yeah.
till about 10 o'clock, and the whole lot, the lights around, the offices around, everything. And the tables would be full of files. The day I became a commanding officer, the first thing I did, in tray, out tray, pending tray, throw it out. I don't want it. My massive table was cleaned up of everything. Just one red pen and one blue pen. Red because as a commanding officer, I use that pen, red color, and a blue pen for signing if there is anything. There was nothing else in my office. A massive table and one chair. And people actually would think that this is such an incompetent man sitting there. By 11:30, half an hour, 45 minutes, my job for the whole day used to be over. The unit used to run at absolute 100% peak efficiency. I had put people to arrest people if the offices were not locked at 1:30 and people did not have hot food. There was nothing called coming in the afternoon to the offices. And I said, this is the office open timing. If you can't work and you can't finish your job within these hours, come and tell me. The first thing I will do is I will jack you up in your ACRs, confidential reports, for incompetency. So we are promoting incompetency by accepting people sitting for late hours without realizing that the guys are doing just to impress you. The competency is that if job description was given by you, the jobs are given by, and you know your job, why the hell is that guy sitting? Capability. So this means neither are you capable, nor is that guy capable. So how are you going to decide how to make that subordinate capable? If your target is to earn, say, $100,000, £100,000, or a crore of rupees, and this is your target, if you are achieving that target in one fourth of the time that you work, and you can have healthy and smiling people around, what's the problem? The precise problem is that a senior cannot see a junior a capable junior.
I
So,
think, sir, my takeaway from all of this is that all juniors, or if you're a senior person in the organization, doesn't matter. It has to be a fit both ways. Uh, Juniors or young professionals, they feel very disempowered every time they go into an organization and they see this sort of atmosphere where they are not allowed to grow. It has to be that you choose the company that you work for or the organization that you work in as much as the organization chooses you. So it has to be both ways.
also remember one thing, work always fills the time.
That's very true.
So,
Yeah.
10 hours, it will fill. 15 hours, it will fill.
Yeah.
So, when we talk about capability, we'll wrap up the video now. When we are talking about the capability, it is an all round capability. And we have to see for our organization how exactly it has to be used. It has to start from top. When I go and consult companies, I cannot teach this capability thing from mid level or low level to up. No, it has to start from top to bottom. How he selects his handful of people. That Hindi saying, बंद मुट्ठी लाख की खुल गई तो खाक की. So 5 people are better. Like the Sikh religion says, एक को 1.25 कह दो. So it is the numbers and the capability that matters. Lesser the number, more the capability, the organization is healthy. But more number of people and the cafes are open, your coffee
Yeah.
machines are open, and the guys are, and the food coupons, and there's that. Absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
This is incapability.
Yeah.
So with this, we'll close. Quite a good and animated session from my side. No, I'm not that violent, but yeah, I'm very passionate when it comes to all these things, processes. Anything else, Shubhu?
No, sir. I simply want to say that yes, he is that violent. He is more violent than you might have found.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. And we see you in the next episode, which is about contribution.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.